Back. My wife came home and well, she called me and interrupted that video. So we're just gonna keep going here. This will be, I guess, part two now. I was talking about XRP, so I think XRP will blow up. The reason I say XRP will blow up is, well, one, it's being artificially suppressed through like the courts right now and sort of the optics of it. But I think it's a viable and legitimate platform that will be utilized by everyone all around the world. When that happens, obviously, the coin will go up. I mean, it's like shares basically on the stock market. So XRP will be good. Touch back down USN note. That is huge that it's out. It's huge that it's being labeled as gold back. We know that's all going to happen. There's all this massive talk like on the RV channels about ISO coin, ISO 2022 or whatever. I'm not totally sure what all that is. I'm not even going to comment because I'm not totally sure what that is. We're all encouraged to get our own digital wallets, and I'm sure I've got a bunch out there. They're pretty easy to get. You just always a good thing to get a offline ledger type wallet. It's like basically a device that plugs in. You put your money, your digital coin onto that, and then don't lose it, and then you can access that whenever you like by plugging it back into your computer, your phone. BRICS is amazing. Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa. Optically, it looks crazy, but if you only delve in the financial RV aspect of this rabbit hole that we're all in, of this gigantic conspiracy that's all over the world that includes all conspiracies. All conspiracies are one conspiracy, one gigantic one. BRICS is huge because it's taking the money away from the USD, which is the monopoly of the Illuminati of their Babylonian money magic, and everything reverts back to them, and they steal from us. It's parasitical in nature. That's their financial system. Plus, it's satanic and anti-God. I mean, why would you want to? This is it's so BRICS is the beginning of it. You can see that in Brazil. I'll jump down here into voter fraud, and that's a huge topic. Obviously, tomorrow being the 8th here in America. I don't know what's going to happen. God, I'm in California, so I mean, come on, Republicans. Hopefully, people are awake enough. I've met a lot of people here that are. In fact, a couple gals down at the golf course here are actually um, running in the GOP. I haven't gotten to the bottom of that yet. She just told me briefly that she was. I thought that was cool. Anyway, voter fraud in Brazil, which is one part of the BRICS country, part of the financial reset system that's happening. Just saw they recently had an election, and of course, it was stolen. It was stolen by, I'm sure that was the Liberal Party. It was stolen away from Bolsonaro. Bolsonaro and is like a Trump supporter. He's a guy that talks about the Illuminati openly. Everybody voted for Bolsonaro. He's a cool guy, and he really wants to he wants to make Brazil great again. I don't know how you pronounce that. Magba. and he got his election stolen away from him. So why that's significant is because there's no way they're going to let that happen. The White Hats, this is obviously scripted, as they keep telling us over and over. And if that is true, then this is totally by design. And why that design would be is up to speculation. I would assume it's to catch more rats in the trap. See who else is working. Let it play out. Personally, on the side note, in parentheses, I hate it, but they're having to let everything play out, and everybody else is having to see it. Norm is, I guess, having to see it. I don't know why that helps, but well, maybe it does help. What I will tell you about that is we've heard word that Lula supporters, or not supporters, goons and thugs are like in the streets shooting Bolsonaro supporters, and there's been some tale or of that, possibly videos that'll probably come to light. We'll have to see whether or not that happened. That horrible thing. So be careful out there, Bolsonaro supporters, especially Brazil. If you're on any kind of gun self-defense channels, you'll know that Brazil's leads the way in those types of videos. So it's very dangerous. Be careful. That's why I need Bolsonaro in there. Get rid of these criminals. Okay, I'm just going down my list. Who is the cabal? Okay, well, the cabal is we can just call them the parasites. They apparently they practice black magic. They know about the underground. They know about the true history. They're working diligently on the surface to hide all of it. The underground doesn't want the underground satanic families that are bad, Darrows and the like, derogatory, detrimental robots. They're derogatory towards life. That's where the D and the rho come from. I'm going to do a video on the rho because it's so important. The etymology of that prefix or suffix. And anyway, they're basically all together, and they all practice black magic. So there's definitely some contact, or a lot of contact, with black spirits and black entities, dark entities, negative beings, if you will. Can they take physical form? To some degree, some can. Some don't show themselves at all. Some can come completely into physical form and just disappear. Hence the story of the Jinn and other fays, the fairies. Not to say that they're bad. I'm just these are interdimensional, ultradimensional, multidimensional creatures, of which we are too, apparently, but we haven't figured out how to do it yet, or maybe some of us have. It's not like people that have figured this sort of stuff out. They don't. It's pretty rare for them to tell other people, and if they do, then it's completely suppressed and wiped out. It's very dangerous to talk about stuff like any of this stuff, actually, all the way up until recently. That's why we're doing it now, because as much as the censorship has been exposed and that they are censoring us, there's a huge fight to regain all these platforms, if you will. Again, I was going to say Facebook is. You'll see on Facebook that there is that they just fired a bunch of people, and I guess apparently it was over censorship. I didn't even read that article. I'm just putting it out there. Okay. Okay. So on my list, the cabal also is tied in with the Phoenicians. They run a vampiric, um, a parasitic type of government all over the world. They generally will go in and bribe people for large amounts of money, unlimited amounts of money, or just death, and some quite often a horrible death, and more often than not, everybody that they know and love. That's how they go about business, and unfortunately, a lot of people have had to go along with that fear of reprisal and the like, um, and that is called gold or to the lead. You take the money or the bullet, and so a lot of people don't want them around. So there's a lot of people involved in the Illuminati that you might even call Illuminati, that might even be raised in the Illuminati, that absolutely don't want anything to do with it, and they will take the first out they can. The White Hat's giving them that opportunity. Let's get back to the military. Next on the list is military insignia and complicity. The military is totally be complicit all the way to the top, and so military is an apparatus. I don't up until now had much faith in them, but the people on an individual level have to be judged individually, and there's some great people, obviously, some very strong and powerful people, but very strong in their hearts, and they join. Generally, most people join the military for good reasons. They want to do good in the world, and then the world just breaks them down. Well, the world is run by this cabal that we just talked about, the Illuminati, and they run the military 100%. Insignia is in the military and on the military. I don't know too much because I don't belong to the military, but I do my research, and you're patched up. These patches have all kinds of satanic symbolism in there. When you patch up under these badges and symbols, you are basically being complicit into what it is that they're going to do ultimately. Now, of course, these factions have started to break away, and we just talked about how sometimes these people are just in, and maybe they wake up while they're in it. Maybe they were awake and they have to dive in there into these groups to try and do the work that they need to do. Other people are just blind the entire time. Well, you let's see. I've got this. This is a pretty deep subject, and you can step on a lot of people's toes with all of this. But you know, the military up until now has been a godless, which is a godless sort of society. Well, at least at the top, running them, and that's again the cabal, these parasitical Satanists. But as the old adage is, there's no atheist in a foxhole. So there, God is spiritualism, and the ability of understanding the spirit world is all tied into the military, and they've created almost an industry, surely. And we don't know how far ahead they are. I would assume that they're at least 50,000 years. Some say 10,000 years, but I think they're much farther than that. They're back engineering a lot of things. A lot of things have the ghost in the machine. Any machine will have that possibility where you're putting your spirit into it and you can affect it. They would know this, and they would be working all hours of the day, night and day, to understand and perfect that. So that has definitely been happening. I mean, you can see that in movies like the X-Men and Jump and different movies where people have like superpowers. Well, that's because that ability exists, and they want to exploit it. That's why it's getting leaked out in the movies. That's their sort of their mouthpiece. White hats, black hats for what they do. Okay, so that's about as far as I'm going to go on that one, I guess. Trump arrest. I keep hearing the Trump arrest. I'm coming around to it, the idea, and mainly for these reasons, and I'll tell you why. One is that if Trump is somehow quote unquote arrested, I'm doing air quotes, he will be out of the way for some crazy things to happen. That makes sense to me. I didn't understand that, and I really hated this whole idea of Trump. I'm like, what is the point of Trump getting arrested? It's starting to make sense to me that because getting him out of the way, now they can do some major moves, major uh, obvious public arena type moves. That's my supposition of that. That's my conjecture. Um, I think it could be used as a leverage device. Don't you think, guys? Oh, go ahead and arrest him, because I have heard that almost like he's taunting them to arrest him. Go ahead, because that'll be the final nail in the coffin, perhaps. Surely they can't take too many more hits. They've lost a lot of tech money on a daily basis, siphoning money away from them. What they haven't done is given the money back to us. That's why the USN note and the QFS running is so huge, because they can't launder money anymore. And a lot of this money will start to come back to us. CMKX, farmers, the precious metal market will rise. The falsely propped up stock market will dissipate. So all those people in that ridiculous market will probably lose. I don't know if that's actually going to happen, but a lot of these NASDAQ companies are all Illuminati, so they're going to be wiped out. So the Trump arrest could allow for things like that to happen, because how can they blame him? He's quote unquote arrested. The other point I would make on that is I'm pretty sure the real Trump, if he still even exists, but definitely the people behind the whole white hat Trump movement are locked up tight in Cheyenne Mountain and in the underground, fighting the underground. So But the main brain of that, whoever that may be, perhaps there's a group of people, perhaps it's Q. What do I know? And Q did post yesterday, so that's a huge deal. There's another current event. Well, Trump is in Cheyenne Mountain, so whoever gets arrested, quote unquote, on the outside, be interesting to see. Is that a body double? Is that a black hat body double? Is that by design by the White Hats? Who knows? Okay, next one is fake. I can't read my own writing. Well, I talked about Cheyenne Mountain. Um, Fake people, no fake. Well, I don't know. I can't read that. That was the only one I can't read. Okay, so Russian Orthodox. The Russian Orthodox Church is one of the only churches that seems to herald back all the way past and then through into Tartaria, which is like our sort of generalization of a civilization that seemed to exist with high technology, and that the Freemasons are trying to wipe out, these satanic Freemasons are trying to wipe out all history of it. The Russian Orthodox Christians still to this day wear these coats that have all kinds of interesting designs on them. Those interesting designs look to me like what you would see on a blueprint for uh, what am I thinking, for like an electronic circuit board, for circuitry, and these are seem to be pretty obviously electronic or electric symbols, transformers, resistors, switches, splitters. Transformers is a big one because you transform energy up or down. And so I think the point here that I was going to make with the Russian Orthodox Christians is that they're still holding up these doctrines. I don't know, maybe doctrines isn't the right word. Knowledge of what used to be in the old world, and what's I believe it was that they were a God believing. I don't like the term God fearing. I don't like that. Fear and God don't seem to go together. They shouldn't go together with me, as far as I'm concerned. A God believing, uh, a society that was for God, believed in God, and loved each other, and moved forward scientifically in that manner. It wasn't a godless society of trying to block out any of that. So they included free energy, chi, the ether, and all these things uh, were being utilized. And I'm going to get into another video. In fact, I wanted to do these two videos to kind of get all this out of the way, because this other video is going to be about Plato and his description of old Atlantis, and sort of getting to the bottom of what he was saying about the old world, because they were basically, what you could say, that they were living then in the apocalyptic ruins of this gigantic ancient civilizations that were built out all through and all over us, maybe even into the sky, into the heavens. Um, you know, going on the words of Edgar Casey and Richard Shaver, just those two authors alone tell us that they had the means to go deep underwater, anti-gravity wherever they wanted, phase in, phase out, go into the sky. They said they could leave the planet, although there might be some misunderstanding going on there. And I think that there's room enough, if the Crater Earth theory, getting back to Crater Earth theory, where we live on a big, perhaps a bigger planetoid, or maybe an endless sphere, some people think, or an endless plane. I just think it's a bigger sphere. And that the sky is a reflection of this gigantic endless sphere, millions and millions of miles, and that's down here where we're living. And so, can you escape out into what, quote unquote, space? Is it possible? Well, under the global model, of course, it is you have to go from land to land. But in the Crater Earth model, you can go land to land just by sea or by walking, and that seems to coincide with all the ancient civilizations, which were again post-apocalyptic. You know, after the flood or after this war, and as I go through the Timaeus and the Crimeas of Plato's writings, I can point out where there was a war, and there was a mud flood. There were large trees. They were still living in the ruins of what came before them. They cleared things away and built a little bit, but they did not build what was there already. And they still, to this day, we live in the ruins of this great civilizations, including Tartaria, which is again a blanket statement, Atlantis, Lemuria, um, maybe even Asgard, the lands outside perhaps where we live. Do we live within many, many craters? It seems that in the writings of Atlantis, they talk about creating the rings. In crater Earth theory, we see that the moon map and the star map line up, and that Saturn and I forget the name of the particular crater on the moon line up, and in the moon crater are rings. And of course, Saturn has rings. Could there be some sort of optical illusion with a crater and a sphere with rings? Could it be showing up differently in the telescopes? Or are we being lied to? And we know we're being lied to by NASA. Almost everything they show is CGI. Getting back to the Russian Orthodox Christians, it seems that in this old civilizations, they were Christian. And these Russian Orthodox are holding up this long held knowledge. And they're also doing it by keeping these sigils, symbols, and designs, even going as far as sewing them into their clothing so that they can show everybody. The priests are doing that. And I believe that was a technology of chi and ether, collecting that into an out of the electromagnetism of our atmosphere, whatever that may be, underneath the dome, atmospherical on the globe, who knows. And they were utilizing it for free energy, but not only that, to make us grow, to make us highly intelligent, to have every answer to every question we could ever have. It was in the water. The water had to flow. You see now that water is slowly being dried up. It seems to be on purpose. Now, whether that's a white hat thing or a black hat thing, whether they're utilizing that water for good or for bad, I don't know. I would hazard a guess they're using it to wipe out the underground tunnels. Will it ever come back, this water? I don't know. Water can always come back because we can evaporate water from out of these gigantic seas, oceans that live in the center underneath us. So moisture can be drawn back out, and it can rain, and it can rain like it's trying to do today. But will it be years, honestly, because it can't rain enough to get back to where it needs to be. So there seems to be an operation of drying out the land, especially here in California. For what purpose, I don't know. I'm hoping we're at the end of the movie because we're being told that this year might be a wet winter. I'm praying for that here in California. Okay, other current events. Where am I here for time? We're good on time. I'm going to just do some other current events here at the end. I probably should have done it at the beginning, but I wanted to get through some of my talking points for the last week or two. We'll come in here to Chatterbox and just look and see what's going on. Again, yes. Well, actually, let's go over here too. I like doing this right off the bat. I will tell you, Missing 411 came out with Red Pill. Go and check him out. Red Pill 78 News, Red Pill News. This is John D'Souza, who I think is also law enforcement, talking about Missing 411 with David Paulides, who's also ex-detective. And he's just a very straight-up guy. And talking about the people that go missing in our parks every year. This has been happening for a long time. Okay, well, I will come back with current events, and thank you.